The next stage in building the order confirmation page is to make sure that the correct image is displayed for each flower. We also need to prevent a row from being displayed if a flower hasn't been ordered. And if nothing's been ordered, we need to display a message that the customer's basket is empty. The image is at the moment hard-coded on line 65. What we need to do is those with a choice of colour are in the colour array, and those without a choice of colour are in the image array. So we need an if-else structure to display the correct image. So let's get rid of the name here. We still need the .jpg, but then we need to add in our PHP code block. And let's just make a few lines there so we can see where we're working. Right, inside there, what we need is an if-else structure. So if, and we need to check whether a particular value is set. And we're going to look first in the color array. So if is set color, and then the array key will be flower name. So if that is set inside that little block there, we need to echo color flower name. So if flower name is calla lilies, we'll get the picture of calla lilies. If we're going with sunflowers, which doesn't have a choice of flowers, that won't be in the color array, it'll be in the images array. So let's do our little else block here. And we need to echo image, and the array key is the same, it'll be flower name, because each time we go through that loop, the flower name will be part of the loop variables. So let's just save that and go to the browser. We can reload the page. It doesn't matter if we're resubmitting the form. And now we're getting the correct image for each type of flower. Things are beginning to look rather good. Okay, let's go back to our code. The table row should be displayed only if the quantity ordered is more than 0. So inside the loop, the quantity is stored in the amount temporary variable. It's this variable up here on line 63, amount. So we can use that to check if the amount is greater than 0. And if the amount is greater than 0, then we'll display the row. If it's not, we won't. So what we're going to do is, after for each amount, then we need to add in another line there and a conditional statement. If we're testing whether amount is greater than 0. And I'm going to use that alternative structure again. Instead of having an opening curly brace, I'm going to have a colon. And then we need to make sure that we put it in the correct place. It's just before the end of the table row and also before the end for each. That's why I was deciding to use these rather than curly braces. So we need to put it in just there. So it'll be end if, which is written all as one word, and a semicolon after that. So we can now save that, and we need to test it in a browser, but this time we need to make sure that there's some orders. So let's go back to the Build a Bouquet page, click that link there, and we'll select a few of those. We'll even change the color of the calla lilies to pink, and we'll just have a couple of sunflowers, and then we will add to basket. And we are now showing only the calla lilies and the sunflowers. And we've also got the correct image being shown for the calla lilies. So just one little bit more with this. We need to prevent the table from being shown at all if nothing has been selected. So let's go back to that code. And the whole of the table needs to be wrapped in a conditional statement. So let's put that conditional statement after the level 1 heading on line 53. Put in a PHP block. If, and then the condition. What we need to do is make two different tests here. The first one is to test whether the quantity array exists. The quantity array exists only if the form has been submitted. So that's the first test we need. And we want to test that it hasn't been submitted, so that quantity doesn't exist. So it's negative, it's the exclamation mark. Then is set and quantity. So if the quantity array doesn't exist, that will become true. And then we need an OR, that's 2 vertical pipes. And we need to check total quantity. If nothing has been added at all, the sum of the quantity array will be 0. And guess what? There's a very useful function called array sum, which checks the value of all the elements in an array. So array underscore sum, and then the quantity array. And we need to make sure that that is equal to 0. So 3 equals signs, then 0, and a closing parenthesis, and then an opening curly brace, closing PHP tag. So if nothing has been ordered, we need to add in a paragraph which says your basket is empty. And then we will have an else clause, so another PHP tag, the closing curly brace, so that's the closing curly brace of this if block here. Then we will have else, an opening curly brace there for this else block. We'll then close that PHP block, and the final curly brace goes right after the table and the order buttons div. So we need to go all the way down to the bottom of the page, and there is the order buttons div. There is the closing tag of the order buttons div on line 91. So that is where the closing curly brace of our else block goes. Making sure that you get your curly braces in the right place is one of the most difficult parts of working with a language like PHP. It's not easy to work with sometimes, but eventually you get used to it. So let's just save that and test it. And if we go directly to the View My Order, your basket is empty. So that is working great. We go to Build a Bouquet and we order just one flower, and it's now working perfectly. So make sure that the if and else curly braces are in the right place, and everything should look tickety-boo, as we say in England. So the 2 main tasks still remaining are to extract the color from the image file name and to calculate the cost of the order.